What's up, guys? Based on cinema, back at it again. Today we got Alien Romulus, the newest addition to the Alien anthology franchise. Made in 2024 while scavenging the deep depths of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Nick.
And hey, man, from the past few reviews we did, this has been a good refresher, for sure.
For sure.
Nick, give me some opening thoughts, man. You just saw the movie. You saw it like a few hours ago. How you feeling?
Yeah. I am on a high. I haven't felt this good after a horror movie in a good minute. Um, VHS, you know what you're gonna get with that. It's good, but it's also, it drags at times. Then you got Abigail, which was fun. Wasn't great, but was fun. Then you had When Evil Lurks, which is super disappointing third act. But now going into this. Saw it earlier today. Jacob saw it, I think, 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no real like this is one of the movies I did not look at spoilers for, did not really do any research. I just knew the director. I'm like, we're in good hands. Let's see what you got. And I knew there was gonna be practical effects, and there was. And just opening thoughts essentially just that was probably one of the best Alien movies they've put out in a good minute, and I want to go see it again and again and again, and get the poster, get the 4K, everything.
I'm pretty on par with Nick's thoughts here. I have only really seen the first Alien a long time ago, and I watched Prometheus like right around when it first came out, and very memorable movie. Especially the trailer. And when the trailer from Prometheus came out, like I was horrified of it. That like noise, that alarm that goes off in the ship, which like they don't even actually use in the movie. It was just in the trailer, and they used the same noise for the Romulus trailer, but they didn't even have it in the movie. It's just like it's a scare factor because it's a freaky noise and alarm. But I watched every single Alien movie about 2 weeks ago because I knew this movie was coming out. So I watched every single Alien movie except the Predator Alien crossover. I'm going to watch
Mm.
the Predator movies soon because I was doing some of the Ring Japanese movies. I was doing that for a little bit, and now I'm kind of tempted to go watch all of the Predator movies.
Auditors.
Yeah, and then do like the crossover. So I'm going to feel that out, but it was a fun journey. I thoroughly enjoy the Alien movies. I very much so. I think they're not like the greatest movies in terms of cinema and like and like it's storytelling, but at the same time, like I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. Like I think I gave Aliens like a 3.5. It probably deserves more than a 3.5, but like in terms of how I felt of about them as films, Alien and Aliens I gave around a 3.5, and then like 3 was like a 3, and then Resurrection was like a 2.5. And then even like Prometheus, man. I only gave Prometheus like a 2.5, but I still really enjoyed it. Because there were certain things about it that made me go, eh. And it was like kind of iffy here and there. But like in terms of the lore, very rich. Very rich lore.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
So I've been on our Alien rampage lately. Before Nick, when Nick was in watching the movie in the theaters, I literally watched an Alien evolution breakdown of the actual xenomorph evolution. I watched a breakdown of Romulus, and then I watched a breakdown of the entire chronological storyline. And man, I'm having a blast, to say the least. I'm having a great time looking at all this stuff, man. Because you watched all of them like a while ago, right?
I watched them a while ago.
Yeah.
It's like it was like when I watched all the Rambo movies. I
Right.
just went through them. I started at home up there, then finished them down here, and I was like, that was a fun ride. I could have did without a couple of them, but
The
I
Rambo
think it was like
movies?
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like I think it was just one, maybe two of them. Just felt
Right.
a little, maybe just the one.
Yeah.
But with Alien, I'm like number one, can't go wrong. That's a classic,
Classic.
defined the genre
Mm-hmm.
basically.
It's got one of the
Um,
most
the
memorable scenes
tagline
in cinema history.
and the tagline,
Mm.
like I think it was what was it? No one hears you. No one will hear you
No, he
scream in
just
space
scream
or
in
something.
space.
No one
Yeah,
hears
yeah,
your
yeah.
screams. Yeah.
Something like that.
That's so sick. It's so like it's crazy because like we're like saying, oh, this is like the most epic tagline, but we're over here like, what the fuck was it? But
Yeah,
it's
I know.
not because it's not memorable. It's because like you know,
We just got bad memory.
on the spot,
Yeah.
bad memory. But it's like even like, but I don't think like I don't really like. I think the third Alien. I think that's when Ripley comes back, right?
I mean, she was in all
Or, like
four, but she
she's in.
she was in one, two, three, and Resurrection.
Fuck, dude. I'm
I
like
know.
blanking out. I'm like I'm over here like she was just in two of them.
There's Alien,
Like
Aliens, and Alien Three. Uh,
I know Alien 3 was when she comes back. She's like buzz cut though, right? In the third one? Or she has the long hair in the third
no,
one.
no, that's three. Yeah, that's three.
Three's
Yeah, they got because
okay.
the space the prison where they're at has a lice problem, so she had to shave her head.
Yeah.
And then Resurrection,
Dude.
which was okay.
It's I would have preferred if they just did like one, maybe two, everything else.
Right.
Covenant, Prometheus, and then fucking even like Covenant. I'm like we could have did without that.
Covenant
Prometheus
was a letdown because of the way Prometheus ended.
Prometheus was that like that one good one out of like the bunch. You're like from the since the beginning
Yeah,
where you're like, oh shit,
yeah.
the lore is
There's elements in
expanding.
Prometheus that really stuck with you, like
Mm.
after watching,
Yeah,
like seeing the
you're like,
engineer, like seeing the this body that you see in Alien, the original,
mm-hmm.
this weird looking exoskeleton thing in a chair, and it's huge. Like you have no idea what it is. You know, you
Yeah,
have no idea what it is. This kind of goes back to what I was talking about with like When Evil Lurks and like Halloween and Paranormal Activity movies. Like, you don't really know what's going on in the lore. You have no idea, but it's interesting and it causes conversation. And then Prometheus just literally opens the door with all this lore and possibility. And that's why I like Prometheus a lot because you're like, holy crap, they're taking out. It's a helmet, and then like there's a human looking head inside of it. So like,
there was so much to unpack with
there's so much.
Prometheus, and then like Covenant came after shortly after, not that long after. And it was just like. It was all like they were really hyping that one up too. It was like oh
Yeah,
practical effect. Like the original dude's coming back. Ridley Scott, I think,
you
was
find
coming
that a
back for
lot
this.
less. You find that a lot less in like the sequels to Alien. The practical effects like decrease in
Mm-hmm.
use. So like I was watching clips of like the 3 and 4 Resurrection, and you could easily tell it's CGI, and that's why Romulus is so good
It's
because
so good.
they use practical effects, CGI, and practical and CGI together. They have the
Yeah.
perfect blend, and they really, really, really focused on the lore, what Alien is, what it encapsulates. It contains the essence of the Alien movies, and they did it for the fans too. Like it's
And even though like it ends on the like the way it ends, it could be interpreted either way as like this is like just its own story or there's more where that came from,
yeah,
you
I think
know?
there's
But
way
like
more, way more.
I'm so excited if they decide to go like another route with it 'cause like dude, this one I think is like directly connected to the first one.
It's a
I'm
it's a
pretty sure.
it's kind of like Rogue One, like
Yeah.
Star Wars Rogue One, where it's like leading right before A New Hope, but this one's in between 1 and 2.
Sick.
Yeah,
Sick.
yeah, and what's good about this movie is I think the thing with this movie is it's kind of like a Star Wars situation. So you had the
Hmm.
original 3 Star Wars, of course. In Alien, you have 4 of them, but Ridley
Hmm.
I think wanted to do either like a trilogy or 4 movies as a prequel series, and that's what he did with Prometheus and then Covenant. But I
Hmm.
think there was a dispute between the studio Disney and him, and he they didn't carry on the story that Prometheus and Covenant started. So they basically went ahead with a spin-off, which was Romulus. And
Hmm.
going into it, I was like, well, I don't know how they're gonna make this interesting, or make it like a good middle movie spin-off where it's actually gonna contain a future of some sort. Like this could have easily been just a wash, and you watch it once and for your
Money
entire,
grab.
yeah, like a money grab. You watch it once and that's it. You don't ever want to go back to it ever again. But it pleasantly surprised me with the way this went, and I think personally leaves a lot of meat on the bone. A lot of
It
meat.
does. It really,
A
especially
lot.
with that third act and
Yes.
what transpired during that third act.
Exactly.
They fucking they Disney and all that jazz. They're over here like, we're gonna steal the life out of your fucking franchise, Ridley. We're gonna fucking milk that shit. And they're like, we're gonna have complete control, and you're just gonna watch, just like Marvel, just like Fox. And then Ridley's over here like, Ridley doesn't take shit. I don't know if you've seen that clip of him. I think it was him, where he's on set and some fucking AD or somebody, a producer, is like, can we cut the scene down a little bit? Can we trim it? Like, take a couple minutes off that? And he's like, he literally takes his head. He's like, why the fuck does everyone want to keep cutting my scenes? Why do you want to do that? And he gets pissed.
What was that
So
for?
I'm over here like, I don't remember exactly, but he went off, dude. He was going like, don't say this. Don't tell me how to do my job. Just do what I want and shut the fuck up.
Right.
And I'm like, if that's the way he's coming for just regular, like not regular, but like crew members, I have no like doubt that he's over here telling Mickey Mouse to shove it and swallow his own nuts and be like, "Hey, shut your fucking mouse mouth. We're doing things my way." Because he's an executive, he's a producer on this film,
Yes.
and even though he might not have had like a full, like, yeah, let's go do this. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like during the production, he's like, since you want to do this, I'm gonna sit on it. I'm gonna watch it happen. I'm gonna be there the whole time.
So going off of what
But
you're,
we're
yeah, go ahead.
doing it my way.
So going off of what you're saying, uh, coincidentally enough, I have a fun fact that actually bounces off of exactly what you're saying. All right, so here's the fun fact going directly off of what Nick was talking about. So, director, is it Fetty or Fed? Do you know the proper
It's Eddie
pronunciation?
Alvarez.
Fetty? Okay. So, director Fetty Alvarez told The Hollywood Reporter that Disney had creative differences over the ending where Rain is forced to fight a monstrous new creature called the Offspring. Quote, so when I get pushback, that's really when I go, okay, that's good, we're on track. The studio is pushing back on it, he said. Per Alvarez, Disney's discomfort was not, quote, because they didn't like it, but thought it might be, quote, too much. And Ridley said, and I was like, yeah, now that you said that we shouldn't, I know that I will. Alvarez continued, quote, if we're given an alien movie by a corporation that is owned by Disney and they immediately say, yeah, let's make it, then you are failing somehow. So we are really pushing it to the limit, and I'm glad we did. So he's essentially saying, like, if they were like, yeah, this is all good, then he's doing it wrong. But if he gets
Yeah.
pushed back, he's like, all right, we're on the right track. Like,
Making progress here.
yeah, making progress here. So literally exactly what pretty much Nick was going after when he was talking about
Dude,
that. Really accurate.
that's so good. That's so good to hear that like him and Fetty are like on the same track
Mm.
because just going based off like we talked about Fetty before, but going based off his track record with his films, he's kind of in the same ballpark as Ridley when it comes to like how he likes his films done. He likes taking his time. He likes using practical effects. He likes really immersing the actors in the real world type
Right.
environments.
Mm-hmm.
And even if Ridley had used CGI in a couple of things, you could tell he still has a love for the practical
No,
effects that go on
absolutely.
behind the camera
Yeah, absolutely.
and in front of the camera. And seeing them work together on this film is very, very like
Because Ridley
it's
did
really
produce it.
noticeable.
He was a big
It's
producer
very
on this.
noticeable.
Yep. So just what Nick was saying. So Fetty has directed a movie called it's a TV series called Calls. He did The Girl in the Spider's Web. He did a popular film called Don't Breathe. He also did the Evil Dead remake, which was highly appraised by horror fans. And
Amazing.
me and Nick agree that that's a remake that should be remembered and praised because the way they do that for the modern day, like they did it very well. Did it very well.
And to piggyback off that, it was one of the first horror films remakes, reboots to gender swap the hero, or not even gender swap the hero. Like basically, I don't think they killed him off, but this went away with the hero of the franchise
Mm-hmm.
and took the character you'd least expect, make them into the hero, and it wasn't in a oh, it's because of this, or it's because
An
like this
agenda.
character's that. It wasn't. There wasn't anything behind it. It was just they just did it, and
And
they
it
said,
worked.
"This-" "He's like, this is your hero. This is what's happening. Deal with it." And they said, "He's like, this is your hero. This is what's happening. Deal with it." And they said, "This is your hero. This is what's happening. Deal with it." And they said, "This is your hero. This is what's happening. Deal with it."
Yeah, but there was
And there
no
wasn't.
agenda pushed. That's the point. It's like there
Yeah,
wasn't
it
an
wasn't
agenda
like.
that wasn't obvious. And here's the thing with Alien Romulus, it's like Disney is surrounding the entire thing. The
Mm-hmm.
entire thing. So the fact that Romulus was as good as it was, and I'll get into this conversation again when we're going through the movie. But one of the topics was that you don't feel any sort of agenda whatsoever in Romulus, and it carries the spirit of true female empowerment like it did in Alien, Alien 2, Alien 3. Like they carry the true women empowerment aspect of this cinematic experience with no agenda whatsoever. That's how it truly felt. It felt like
Yeah.
the one thing that I thought to myself, and this is my other thing that I took a note of. This is another great movie with another great opening. The opening of this movie felt like an Alien movie. It felt
Mm-hmm.
like it didn't feel like the Halloween trilogy BS. All right,
Yeah.
I do not like the Halloween sequel trilogy, and a huge reason why is because it doesn't feel like Halloween.
It doesn't.
It doesn't feel like you're watching Halloween. It feels like you're watching a crappy reboot or like fan trilogy that has a lot of funding and a huge budget. Halloween
Mm-hmm.
trilogy did not feel like Halloween, but Alien Romulus felt like an Alien movie, and that's huge, especially with
Mm-hmm.
the diehard fans. I'm not a diehard fan because I'm now just getting into the universe. Like I said before this recording, I've been diving deep into the lore, been diving deep into the films, and right now it's the perfect time for me to talk about it. And this carries the exact theme and feel that an Alien movie should have, and that's huge.
Exactly.
It's huge,
And
and
it's like even for new coming fans like you
yep.
and like you're just entering the universe of all this, like you don't even have to be like a long-term fan to appreciate that
No, no.
overall feeling, ambience, and
Oh yeah.
just that that energy that comes with that first one.
Yep.
I hate to use energy or vibe or
That
any of
works.
that,
No, it
but like
works. It works.
just like throughout this movie, the whole time all I could think was, dude, I haven't seen a space thriller horror movie this good since Alien.
Right.
Since Alien, the closest thing I got to that was probably Interstellar, and it wasn't even a thriller,
Life was
but it
okay.
had to.
It was okay. Like it had
It
the
was
whole
okay.
alien element where it's like, oh, it's gonna land on Earth, and you don't have an
Yeah.
ending to it. Like it keeps an element of like suspicion and intensity that lasts even after the film's over. But
But this one
I
literally
agree with you.
felt like
No, I agree.
space.
Yeah, no, this felt like an alien movie. And that's huge. It's huge, and
I was so
I knew
what
right
more?
off the bat this was gonna be good. Just like with Long Legs, I said the same thing about Long Legs when I watched the first 60 seconds of Romulus. I knew it was gonna be a treat. I go
Hmm.
into every movie that I see with no expectations whatsoever. And I've
That's
had to
true.
develop this over time, and you just got to realize, like, dude, if you like watching movies, it's not always going to meet your expectations. So have the lowest expectations possible. That way you're ready for it to not do well.
Let this man cook. Literally,
So if you have your expectations low, you will not be that disappointed if it's bad. And if it's good, you're going to be more pleasantly surprised than you would be if you had high expectations for it. You leave more
and
room for success and good feelings.
that's true. And to piggyback off of that, the number one problem with a lot of like movie reviewers or influencers who do movie reviews, the main reason why like they usually shit all over movies and stuff is because they have expectations. They have
Right.
like
Precisely.
these ideas of what the movie will be or what it's gonna be. They're either like looking into all the spoilers, doing reports, and covering the news for it. Most of the time, that's what they're doing. I'm someone who's always. I'm usually the one who's like spoilery and like looking into everything and doing all that stuff. Jacob's the complete opposite. Jacob will look, see like, oh, movie's coming out. Okay, cool, and just sit, not look up anything, not watch anything, maybe see a trailer,
Maybe.
exit out before it finishes. And then when the movie finally comes out, he'll be the first one in the theater and he'll be like, all right, let's get this shit started. But me, I'm always like, I'm there with my expectations, but I'm like, he's taught me, I've learned over time, like, no matter what I've heard, don't let that cloud my judgment. Just focus on letting it present to me what it's going to be about. Like, let it show me what's going on. So
Yep.
that way, when I go in, I'm not there like, where the fuck is Galactus?
Like, primary reason to what triggered that for me was watching the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And a big reason was, we're not even talking about Alien anymore, but the big reason for that is, like, I'm 15 and a new Star Wars movie is coming out, and I'm psyched. I'm so excited. My dad put the tickets on his dashboard in the car when he picked me up from school, and I, like, started crying because I'm like, holy crap, we're going to see Star Wars. It's a new one, and I'm so psyched. So that was when I dove into the Star Wars lore 100%. Wholeheartedly. I learned the most that I ever have about Star Wars. I was so deep into it. And it was from watching theories and watching, leaked videos or videos that are talking about leaks. And then I go to see the movie and, like, none of that crap's in it. And primarily because the fans had a good, like, they had a good idea about what should have been there, and then you go see it and it's horrible. So that was a lesson to me to really give me context, to not get my hopes up, not to look too deeply on the internet when it comes to the possibilities of the film, and just to realize, like, just watch the film, and then it gives you everything that you need, obviously, and that's where you go off of. Because if you have high expectations in any way, shape, or form, you're going to be let down. And the percentage of which you're going to be satisfied, if you keep it at a high standard, you can be let down very easily. Even if it's a teeter-totter to the bottom just a little bit, that's still unsatisfactory. But if you keep your expectations down here, and it's a little better than you thought it was going to be, that gives you a good experience in one way or another. And that's what it's all about. So don't go into movies with any expectations whatsoever.
And
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to add on to that. I'm just gonna piggyback consistently to add on to juice this up. Not like gym athlete, like not like an athlete does in the Olympics, but different kind of juicing. So what I'm saying for this is how Jacob says, don't, like, lower your expectations and try to, like, push that stuff out of your mind that you might see. Don't let Rotten Tomatoes critics or fucking influencers who are saying, like, this movie's crap because it's missing this, and this. Don't let any of those things ruin the experience for you. Go in there as an individual, go in there as an independent, sit down, shut your mouth, watch the movie, as they say, clear your mind, and
go watch a movie.
Just enjoy the time you're there, enjoy the experience, because, like, if like everybody else is hating it, doesn't mean you have to. You'll probably enjoy it at that point. Like, we've gone to movies where other people said, dude, doesn't so worthless, doesn't make sense, stupid. Me and Jacob will go and we'll be like, dude, that movie fucking rocks.
Right. Yeah. It's appreciating life and experiencing the experience, and then really appreciating it. A big example, this will be the last thing.
Yeah.
But a big example is the whole Superman thing that's coming out, Superman Legacy, which is now just titled Superman, which is absolutely ridiculous. I told Nick, like, dude, I'm just going to watch the movie when it comes out, and then if it's good, it's good, and if it's bad, it's bad, and we'll talk about it then. But until then, I have nothing to say. Like, I got nothing to say besides, like, like, for example, a photo of the suit comes out. Well,
multiple.
My reaction is, we'll see how it looks in the movie.
Yeah.
That's it for me. And that leaves me a happier person.
It does. It really does.
And I get it. Nick is a comic geek, all right? This man has read so many comics in his life. He has seen so many things. He's watched so many videos. Me, like Nick, I'm a Snyder fan. I like the Snyder movies. And we can't compare what's to come with the past. And the thing about the future is the future isn't always great. The future is not always good. The future is never going to meet your expectations as you expect it to be. So you just got to go into it raw and then experience it. So that's my spiel. I think we should finally talk about Romulus a little more because it's been a little bit of time. So
it has been a little bit.
Yeah, so let's get into it. So we got Rodo Saya. Yes, listen, man. I am white, and I'm gonna mess up some names. All right. So
is that the actor's name?
This is a producer and writer.
Okay.
So this man has produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, Don't Breathe 2, Don't Breathe 1. So he's worked with the director in a lot of instances. And he has also written some stuff. IMDb just made.
Evil Dead 2 was a little weak. Texas Chainsaw 2022 was kind of fun as
Mhm.
he kills woke people, which is kind of funny.
And he did
Like
do the
I'm
story
talking
for
like,
Texas Chainsaw. He did the story for it.
and for anybody who might be offended by us saying killing woke people, we mean like radically woke. Like if you're out there like being like an asshole about it, like you could do whatever, you could be yourself. Just don't like be violent or
Don't be a
aggressive as
hypocrite.
shit. You know? Yeah,
Don't be a
essentially.
hypocrite.
They get their due justice in that movie, and
Yes.
it's due
Hey,
diligence.
I remember that movie now that you're talking about it. That was
Yeah, I get it.
it was fun. It was fun.
It's a fun
It was
time.
a fun time. So he has worked with the director pretty closely for a while, and especially with Don't Breathe, and obviously Alien, and Calls. He did some stuff for that TV series as well. So he has a direct affiliation with the director. And let's get into some actors and actresses. I'm not going to go into it deep because there's a bunch, but the main protagonist is Kaylee Spaney.
Priscilla.
I thought she was great.
Dude.
I loved her. Like, when she was on screen, I couldn't take my eyes away. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't take my eyes off of her because it's not even like a visual appeal, like that has something to do with it, but just the way that she was directed worked so well for her performance and her acting capability. And I really enjoyed her performance, and I enjoyed her as an actress. And brava, honestly.
Honestly,
She has a
yeah.
couple movies coming out called Beef and Wake Up Dead Man. Beef is a TV series, but she has done Civil War. She was in Civil War, which I have yet to see.
I need to see that.
She was Priscilla. And Priscilla.
She was Priscilla.
Honestly, I had no idea. She doesn't even look the same. I actually respect Priscilla a lot. I don't think it was a great film. I think I gave it like a 2.5, but she was also very good in Priscilla. I think she has a good future for herself. And she really hasn't done too much. She was in the All American Rejects, the music video, and she was in Vice, Pacific Rim Uprising.
I remember that. Yeah.
She played Rain in Dead by Daylight, which I know you played. I think.
Dead by Daylight. I played a little bit.
Yeah, but she's in that game,
Sick.
and that's really it. Like, she's up and coming, and I am really excited to see what she does. Very much so.
She's picking her roles very well. I will say that. She's picking her roles very, very well.
Her agent's doing a good job.
And they're doing the damn good job because like
Yep.
they're focusing on things that complement her abilities.
Yep.
As opposed to like putting like fucking who was it? What's his name? But Dave Bautista in like comedies consistently.
Yeah, whatever.
We know he has the chops to do dramatic acting, but his agent fails him consistently in both some comedies.
I agree.
Whatever pays the bills. But Kaylee Spaney, throughout this film, like Jacob, I will say I couldn't take my eyes off the screen when she was there. She bouncing back and forth between her co-stars and just even when she was on her own, she delivered an excellent performance. And I genuinely felt for the character majority of the film. I was like, oh shit. I cared.
Yeah.
I really cared. And that's something that's really hard nowadays to care about characters in your films.
Right.
But yeah, she killed it. Just wanted to add that.
Since we're running up, this is going to be a long video, so I think the last one we'll talk about really is, we'll talk about
Andy?
two more people. We have David Johnson, who played the, I guess I'll just call him, I mean, I have the name slip for me all day today,
Was
but
it Andy?
the robot,
Andy.
yeah, but there's a better name for it, like
Synthezoid?
like artificial intelligence, like
Yeah, it's like a synthetic.
a synthetic. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So he did great. I'll just say this, just to put it out there. All the acting was fine. All the acting was good. The majority of it was great. It all worked.
Yep.
It didn't take me out of the film whatsoever, because you could have Romulus, and you could have horrible directing, and you could have great actresses and great actors, but If the directing isn't good, then their performances are just going to be cut short, and it'll be just take you out of it. And that happens a lot nowadays in modern movies. And the directing, the writing kept their roles alive, like truly alive. And all the acting throughout the movie was solid.
Mm-hmm.
So this man, David, was in a little bit just like Kaylee. He was in a couple shorts, a couple TV series, and like not much movies. Like this is really his first film, it looks like.
Like breakout film.
Breakout, yeah, because he really was only in shorts and TV. This is his,
he fucking killed it then.
I think this is his first. He was in Rye Lane. I think that's his first movie. Rye Lane, RYE Lane, and that looks to be his first official film.
Yeah.
He has a couple up and coming. I'm sorry. For acting, he has like 5 up and coming productions. Frank Fisher, Ben Eubank, The Road Trip, Wasteman. So we'll see how those go. And the last person I really want to talk about is Robert Bobrovsky, and he played The Offspring. He's just he was a professional basketball player. So he was a Romanian basketball player. He's 7'7". He's really tall. He's my age. He's my age. He was born in July 17th, 2000. He's born 5 days after me.
Dude.
And that's who played The Offspring.
Maybe we can get him for an interview.
That'd be cool.
That'd be sick.
That'd be cool, man.
Dude, that's insane. Quick little shout out to Isabella Mercer. I'm butchering her last name. She was the pregnant one.
Yeah.
She was great.
I agree.
Killed it.
Yep.
For what time she was on the screen, she did phenomenal. I think I'm gonna give some praise, and to the 2 gentlemen as well, the brothers.
The brother and
brother and
one was a cousin, yeah.
Cousin, they, great, dude. Just phenomenal acting. The scene where somebody gets snatched up, and the brother reacts to it. It was a quick moment that immersed me even more into the world of this movie. Something terrible happens. Someone gets snatched up, and he just looks at another character. And he's like, "Just open the door."
You could say it because we're gonna talk about it anyway. You could just go rip it.
So the sister who's pregnant gets snatched by the alien. Andy, the synthezoid or synthetic, he did not open the door because he did not want to risk all of them dying. He's like, I have to do what's best for everybody. So the sister gets snatched up, and the whole time they're screaming, "Open the door, open the door, open the door!" And they don't do it. So then even after that part, when you know she's gone, she's probably dead. The brother is still just on the door, and he's going, "Just please open the door. I had to go get her. Just open the door." And it's something real that would happen, because in your brain, if you're in a situation like that, you're not gonna be like, "Oh, she's gone. She's dead. Let's move on." You're gonna be like, "I can still save her. I can still get in there. I can still open the. You can still open the door. There's still a chance."
And the synthetic's just like he's waiting for you to open the door.
Yeah, he's not gonna rationalize that.
Yep.
And that part of the film just had me like, this is real. This is happening somewhere in the world. This is in space.
Yeah.
This is legitimate.
This is space. This is space.
This is a live stream right now. Kai Cenat pops out. What's up, guys?
So let's get into it a little bit, man. I mean, I got a lot. My notes aren't too great, but a lot to talk about, and I have a bunch of fun facts. There's actually a ridiculous amount of fun facts that I could read through. Maybe I'll skip through some, but like I said, another great movie with another great opening. Same thing with Long Legs. Like I knew when this movie opened, the feel, the look, the cinematography was beautiful. The cinematography was so well done. I was in awe of watching this film. It was eye candy. And even the beginning, you had the startup of the computers. And that's the thing, too. It kind of has this element that a lot of modern movies are doing where you have a lot of, not remakes, but you have a lot of movies releasing kind of like Top Gun Maverick. And it's in the same universe, and they're all being kind of just pushed out. They just keep getting pumped out. So it kind of has this essence where it's like just getting a constant callback to the previous movies, which it is. But it works as an individual film because it keeps the essence of the franchise, but the movie itself is its own being. And that's the important part. You can do the nostalgic trips that they've been doing for the past 2-3 years, but if you can make the movie feel its own, that's what you want, because that's how you're going to get good reviews. That's how you're going to get people in the theaters. I mean, dude, this overall, man, it covers a lot of check marks. It just covers a lot.
Wait, just going back because you lost me. The opening, you started with the opening, and then you kind of went to like the
Yeah.
nostalgia rant.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you mean by the opening? How it starts like it's like other movies?
Well, because in there's the past 2-3 years has been a nostalgia trip. So, in a lot of these movies, you have a lot of the same elements of like the originals that they'll just put on the screen to make you go like, oh my god, it's the same thing, it's the same person, it's the same character, it's the same setting, it's the same ship. And people get like like a rush of like dopamine because it's like, oh my gosh, this is it, we're seeing it finally, it's a callback from the 80s or whatever. Like, it's just constant like throwing back and throwing in nostalgic elements of previous films and to get cheap reaction.
Yeah,
but this
I
movie,
get that. But what did this one do?
This one does something similar, but my point was, like I said earlier, this feels like a true Alien movie where it's not just a copy and paste of old elements from the older movies and pasting it for cheap clicks and cheap ticket purchases, but it literally keeps the essence of what Alien is.
It's not a cash grab.
Yes, but while also using modern day technology to make it look beautiful. And that's what the cinematography did. So the whole beginning, it shows you like the computers are booting up, and instead of me being like, okay, well, they're just kind of doing like a nostalgic trip, it's like, okay, I'm ready for an Alien movie. Like the way that they did it kept the damn essence of it throughout the entire thing, and I knew from the beginning it was going to be a treat. I think you understand what I'm saying. I think like,
I got you now.
Okay. So the soundtrack was great. They also took from previous soundtracks like Prometheus and Alien. So when certain things would pop up and were talked about, they would implement other pieces and soundtracks from the previous films.
I love that about that.
But yeah, man. Like I was saying before, Hollywood did a good job with an actual strong woman lead who didn't feel pushed and felt naturally born into this movie. And I bought into her. And there was not one point where I was like, oh, this is cheap. They're pushing an agenda. It was all legit. They did that with the original movies.
It didn't feel like what was that movie that just came out? I think it was that Gal Gadot spy movie that just came out recently.
Oh,
that's on Netflix. I didn't like I started it, but then I kind of just like threw out like the first 10 minutes, like, fuck this. And then the Jennifer Lopez movie that just came out as well, that was bad. And what was it? Just those two examples. Like it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like that at all. Like she starts out as someone with one dream, one goal for not just herself but for her brother.
Right.
And throughout the film, she's put through trials and tribulations, which turns her into a warrior.
Yep, just like the original movie.
A stone cold warrior. And even at that point, you don't get any of those like, I have to do this because I'm the only one who can do this, or like because I'm this, or because I'm that. It's earned, it's worked for, and natural.
Yeah.
and it felt so right.
It did. That's why I was like, so excited for you to see it. I didn't like lead you to anything like saying it was like good or not. I was like, okay, I'm excited for you to watch this because
you're just like, I'm excited. That's it.
Yeah. So with other movies that we reviewed, we kind of go deep into the chronological order of the timeline of the film itself. But I think I'm just going to go down the list and then, because this is going to be a long video, and I think we should just delve into it and talk about the key points because there's a lot of meat of the lore that I want to get into.
Let's do it.
So they found in the beginning of the film, you see them finding the Nostromo, which was the original ship in the first movie, and they find the xenomorph that was the OG xenomorph from that ship, fossilized, and they find it, take it back to the ship, and then we soon discover that they were testing it, trying to reverse engineer it, and it. I forget if you remember, it basically just come back to life and just caused rampage. I think it just came back to life
I
because
think so, yeah.
because there's one point in the movie where you see it hanging and dead, but you still see the grappler into its chest. You could see like it's clearly a xenomorph from the first movie because she used the grappler on it, and it was cool. They reverse engineered its biology, and coming into the creation of the black goo, in which it's kind of commonly known. So that was the whole point of getting it in the first place, and they obviously discover through Rook, which is the synthetic, and it has the same. The actor passed away who played. I forgot the original name. I have it here somewhere. In the first Alien, Bishop. It was Bishop. So it's the same synthetic model as Bishop. And they essentially used the likeness, the face of the old actor, and they had a new actor come in to voice him. And they actually got permission from his widow and his family to use his likeness and his image in this movie.
That's good.
Yeah, which is nice. There's some arguments where it's like, well, he's dead, he doesn't have a say. I don't think he would really have a problem with it because they kept his essence alive as well. You know, and you
in a respectful way too.
Yeah, so they had like the same thing that we were talking about before. It had practical and CGI effects with him as well, and you could definitely kind of tell it has like a
uncanny valley.
No, I'm thinking of Cavill in Justice League with the mustache. It kind of had that feel to it, which kind of like dropped the point off for me a little bit. Because you could tell the CGI was okay, but I mean the guy's dead, so it's like you gotta try your best no matter what. And they did a good job in my opinion. And he
wasn't a Luke Skywalker from Mandalorian,
right? Yeah, and it's like you go to YouTube and guys do it way better. Yeah, come on Disney, get your stuff together.
It's a time crunch. It's a time crunch.
Yeah, so I kind of have an order here.
You want to do like top 5 or something?
I mean, I'm just going to go through it. Directing was really solid. One thing that I actually liked at the end of this movie was the jump scare.
Dude.
The jump scare was good. It was good.
That was good. It got me.
It got me. And it was good because, like, I mean, I can't... Me and Nick could probably tell you how many times we've seen just crappy jump scares that are so cheap, you know what's coming. I had no idea this one was coming, and it was good. It was done very well. And I appreciated it because nowadays you don't have good jump scares. You just don't.
Facts. It's facts. Everything's like... Oh, what's that noise? Goes over, it's a fucking cat, and it's like, oh.
Right.
And that was so well done. Like, just thinking about it, like, literally while he was going over the beginning and all that stuff, I just had chills. I'm I don't get excited often anymore with horror movies like that. But this one, just like thinking back on the scenes, I'm like, dude, that was so good. And like even the jump scare, I'm like, dude. Yep. Man, yeah, they did. You're right. He's. I agree. They fucking nailed that.
I agree. So you have throughout the Alien movies, you kind of have this evolutionary process with xenomorphs. You kind of go back to I forget the actor's name. I'm really bad with names, but Prometheus and Covenant. You have the synthetic who basically is
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, so he plays...
And his name is David.
David, yes. So David is a huge role in both Prometheus and Covenant. And he's basically kind of doing a kind of a reverse engineering in a sense, but he has the black goo, and he's experimenting on the human body. And he's basically essentially kind of creating a new species of xenomorph. And you see that throughout the movies. You see, and I think it was Alien 3... the facehugger gets on a dog, and then that xenomorph is all on all fours and has properties of a dog. And I'll just get into it. Like, the offspring that they created in this movie, it didn't feel like, oh, it's another version of xenomorph, and they're trying to give you more meat. Just because it felt like a legitimate addition to the Alien universe. That's what it felt like for me. It was a new. It
didn't feel like
right.
How Marvel, for example. Oh, here we got Spider-Man in a suit. Next movie. Oh, here's another suit, but it's like just a different color.
Right.
It's not like it's not like the same thing, just copy paste different color. It
Yes.
was its own iteration, its own new thing, and it felt fresh, unique, and different. Not copy and paste like Jacob said.
Yes, and that's the thing. That's the cool thing about the Alien movies is that this black goo and the face huggers, how it reacts to different species, you get a new result every single time depending on what like is part of the equation.
Hmm.
And that is kind of what keeps it rich for me to keep watching and to look back and to like rewatch, because you have new iterations. You have a queen xenomorph, and then you have a deacon xenomorph, which was in Prometheus when that giant face hugger squid thing
Hmm.
absorbed the engineer, and you'd have this. They call it a deacon xenomorph. That's what they
Dude,
identified it as. So you have all these different kinds, and I feel like, with this one, she injects the black goo in her neck, and kind of like Prometheus in a sense, it takes over the fetus, and once it's born, it's something else entirely.
dude, low key looked like an engineer,
Yes,
and I was like,
that was intentional.
so what kind of territory are we getting into
Right.
here?
So it was meant to carry the physical attributes of an engineer, but
Shit,
have the cross breeding of a xenomorph. So it has
like
like,
that longevity of a xenomorph and like
yeah,
that
but he had like
like
the metal
almost
teeth.
immortality type thing.
Yes, but he had the metal teeth. So like when he
Yeah.
smiles, you can see the metal teeth.
Hmm.
He has the tail. He has elements of his body that are very elongated. The head is a human head,
Yeah.
obviously. But that's the thing. Like, this new offspring has this element to it where it's new, it's fresh, and you could. I mean, it's not fair to
Eerie.
say that this new offspring has properties, and it's like it's not new, it's not original, but that's just biology, man. You're gonna have elements of the human and of the xenomorph because it's from the same damn DNA structure.
Over time, evolution, you see it all the time.
Yeah, all the
All
time.
the time.
So interesting about this one. So Alien Resurrection, you have I forgot the character's name, man. I'm so bad. I watched 4 of these movies and I can't remember the main character's name. The main woman.
Sigourney Weaver?
Yeah,
Ripley?
Ripley. Yes. So when
Believe it or
Ripley
not?
is used as a essential like a foundation and they use her body to create this new xenomorph, it identifies her as the mother. But in this movie, unlike Resurrection, this new species of xenomorph, the offspring, it feeds on his mother. And when you see like
Hmm.
when Kay, that's her name, Kay,
Yeah.
she like goes into her like breast and she pulls out this like slimy
Ugh.
goo, and that's like the breast milk for the offspring. So I watched a couple different videos and I read up on a couple different things. So like, unlike Ripley's character, where they identify it as like the birth giver and the mother, in this sense,
Hmm.
the offspring feeds on her and her essence and the black goo and everything about her. It basically just drains her. And
Jeez.
during that scene, the tail is starting to grow. And
Yeah.
after it consumes her, you see the tail fully grown. So
Yeah.
that's a cool little piece because you could actually physically see how the offspring absorbing its mother is actually benefiting it. Obviously, just like with
Hmm.
humans, it's benefiting from everything that are vitamins, the minerals, the black goo, kind of taking on all the essence in which it needs to further its growth.
That scene messed me up, dude.
Yeah, it was good. Um,
Seeing her body just hanging there in its hands.
right.
I was like, oh, I was like, and the way she looked too, I was like, oh God.
Yeah. Another
Jesus.
thing is like another thing that leaves open. This was my other thought when I left the theater. I'm like, well, they could easily make a sequel, and I'll be
Hmm.
excited for it. So another thing that I noticed is the ship, when it was being grinded away in the ring of the planet,
Yeah.
it's still intact. Like the upper part of it, it's still intact.
Yeah.
And the offspring, as Rook explains, it doesn't it doesn't matter if it's in space or it doesn't have air, it doesn't have food, it will survive.
Yeah.
It's the perfect. What did he say?
Specimen.
Yes, I think it's something like that. The perfect specimen.
Like that.
I forget the name that he used. Kind of frustrating me, but it's able to survive in space without food, without water, and
Mm-hmm.
it could easily go back to the ship, go back to the face huggers, and do some sort of something. I don't think it's going to be like Alien 3, where in the ship, a face hugger is just there,
Yeah.
and then it hatches, and then the new movie starts. That was kind of cheap in Alien 3. It just so happened to have a face hugger in there. And I think this could actually have a really cool opening and a really cool story that's going to continue off of this one. So I'm pretty excited. I think they will do another movie. And I think it's very possible for them to do it. I think they could use The Offspring and then truly advance the evolutionary process even further.
Revamp the whole franchise. Like we all knew the Xenomorph, but now we got the Offspring as like the lead creature.
Right.
Dude, the Offspring was terrifying.
Yeah, he was good.
Terrifying.
And when it smiled.
Like,
that's what I thought too. I'm like, this is like more human than the Xenomorph in Resurrection, but it still kills its mother, and I don't know how I truly feel about that, because if a true Xenomorph is going to look at its mother and not kill her because it's the mother, then why didn't it happen here if it literally has more human attributes? But I think that might be a little bit more primal in Resurrection.
I think it's a primal thing, like evolutionary type thing going on.
And plus, humans are more prone to be more selfish, so consuming its mother could go both ways.
Like, it's like, oh, why would I let you take care of me when I could just take from you?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's a primal thing. And you hear in the animal kingdom, you have like mothers eating its children or vice versa. It happens. So it's not like it's a
Oh, sorry. And like hippos, if one of them dies, like in the water or some shit, like they're not carnivores. They're herbivores apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But if one of them dies, they'll eat that dead one.
Okay.
They'll cannibalize each other.
I see.
If the one's dead, and it's disturbing as shit, but it happens.
Yeah. So
hippos.
There's definitely room for a sequel, 100%.
I'm so excited.
The movie contained the classic. I think what was it? Like, get away from her, you bitch. I think that was what it was.
Yeah, the line.
So,
get away from her, you bitch.
So, what's his name said it?
Andy.
Andy said it, and obviously you can also argue, like I was saying before, that it's just a pull from the older movies, and it's a kind of a nostalgic fest. But like for that one, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like Disney wanted that. I feel like he was saying, like Disney kind of had a pullback from the ending into the film, and perhaps it was just kind of so perhaps this was just like a gimme for Disney to be a little happier. You know what I mean? Because Disney's gonna be happy with the way it came out.
Disney's the heads of Disney. You can't make an alien movie and not put that line in there.
Right.
You can't do that. You can't not. It's like putting a movie out there called Alien without the Xenomorph. You have to have the line.
Right.
You can't put the line in, and they're just like, okay, fine. Yes. We're giving it to the robot. We're giving it to the robot.
Another interesting thing that I found was I noticed it right off the bat in the beginning. The opening titles, it was in reverse. So in Alien, the lines appear, and then the word starts to structure. It starts to get structured into the word alien, but this one does a reverse. So it shows Alien Romulus, and the lines disappear. And they're showing the lines from the original. So
that was done really well.
It was. There was another callback of when she goes down to go get Andy. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
She goes down the elevator shaft to get Andy. She has the gun and she has a tank top on, and the wind's behind her. That's supposed to be a callback to Ripley. That worked. Yeah. I was like, okay, go ahead.
No, I mean, like I could see it. Like I was sitting there watching. I'm like, this looks like a hero shot.
Because that was in Aliens when she went down to go get
the girl.
Yeah, I forgot her name. We literally just watch videos on it. This is the thing about me. Like I'll watch a video on it and I'll forget the names right after I finish it. Yeah.
I'm
so I already forgot. But
We're to do what every great director does. We're to just call that person the girl.
the girl, yeah.
The girl.
So that was a good callback, and obviously that might be the only little snippet in which you could say they're pushing for this female agenda. But at the same time, it doesn't. That doesn't. I don't think so. Like, I kind of disagree with
Not
that.
even, yeah, like not even like there's still people like we're not saying you could do that, but there's gonna be people who might.
Yes.
But we don't see that there.
Right.
It's just a badass fucking moment.
Yes.
Like
She was great.
so cool.
And the whole element, like at the end when she puts Andy into the pod and she has to go barefoot, that also emulates Ripley doing the same thing, just literally in her underwear and like having to
Yeah.
encounter this alien. And so it kind of has a Force Awakens element to it, where the Force Awakens was kind of like a New Hope. It kind of carries elements like that, but not nearly as copy and paste.
Yeah.
Not nearly.
It's com- it's like how do you explain it? Like that ship where they would remember that ship where they it's like, oh, the ship's falling apart, it's all broken
Mm-hmm.
up, beaten up, but it's like this is that ship, and then they just replace piece by piece
Mm-hmm.
until they have a new ship, but it's still the same ship because they use like certain parts or something like that. I forgot how it goes, but
Yeah.
that is how I would say this is. Because for Force Awakens, it was more of like, let me copy your homework.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about this one
I
too,
think
it's
that's a
like
good way to put it.
instead of it being like a copy and paste moment, it was more so like this is an open possibility that can happen when you're about to go in the Cairo sleep and the alien's still alive and you got to go do your thing. You just got to take care of it. So like you're literally in your pajamas or your underwear, barefoot, and you got to do what you got to do. That's the way it feels for me. Can it be looked at as
Call them.
yeah? Can it be looked at in the way where it's a copy and paste throwback moment to Ripley? Yeah, sure. But it felt more like the first option where it's just this just feels natural.
It felt like a natural thing that was happening.
Yes.
And I'm gonna call them the cryo sleepies
Okay.
that she was wearing. The cryo sleepies.
Cowardly piece. Yeah, and then like you had the whole thing where like she's in her underwear and she goes into the suit and she suits up. Same
Dude, that
thing.
was sick.
Yeah, it's the same thing
When
though.
she gets into the mech suit.
Yes, an alien. The same thing pretty much happened, but I don't care. You know,
Mm,
like I don't care. It worked.
it was
So
good. They didn't build another Death Star.
right,
I'm
a
fine.
third one. The
They're
third one. Yeah, the third. Bigger. It's bigger. Now it's a whole planet, but it's still
It's
a
a
Death
whole
Star,
planet.
and it kills multiple planets at once instead of one. Um.
What's its weakness? You can blow it up from the inside.
So like I could probably think back and like this could easily be a two-parter video, but I don't think it's necessary. I think anybody who's watching this who's already seen the film understands wholeheartedly what we're talking about. Oh, the scene where they when the ship blasts off from the planet, the terraforming planet that's still terraforming, and they haven't seen the sun because they're terraforming the planet still. It's a mining planet.
Yeah.
The ship.
That scene was so sick.
Yeah. So okay, so that scene, right? So the scene when they're walking the street, going to and she's trying
Yeah.
to get her like right to leave and her work.
Eligibility and stuff.
Yeah. That whole scene when they're in the street, I felt that. I felt the anxiety, I felt the darkness, I felt the suffocation and
Claustrophobicness.
the
Okay.
claustrophobic feeling, the queasiness. I felt it. That the whole fun fact too in this movie, everything was shot chronologically.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah, I remember that
So
part.
everything was filmed in chronological order from the beginning of the movie until the end. It was all filmed by the script and the order
That
of the
is
script.
literally so rare these days to have
Rare.
something shot chronologically. So the fact that they did that was amazing, and I remember them even mentioning in an interview that they're like, "Oh yeah, once that person died or they were like done, that was it. They were gone, offset." And
Right.
then they like it literally like that's good because when you're doing things out of order, someone could die day 1, be there day 7, and you're like I feel like personally that could affect the performance and how that
Sure.
person like, gets in character and stuff. But if you're doing it chronologically, for me at least, I feel like that's better for an actor because the person dies, they're not there the next day. They're wrapped.
Right.
You're now that character without the knowledge of that person being on set or in the area, you're like, okay, they're actually fucking dead.
Right. Not here
And I
anymore.
feel like that probably did help the performances as well.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Another huge fact that like is probably one of my favorite things about this film, when Mother says T minus 30 minutes until impact, it's literally 30 minutes in the movie until it impacts. It's
That's
not
awesome.
like, so when I was watching one of the Alien movies, I forgot which one it was, but like it's like T minus 2 minutes till impact, right? Or till self destruct.
Mhm.
2 minutes went by. I'm like, it's been past 2 minutes. You know what I mean?
30
Like that
minutes later.
happens so often
Yeah.
in movies nowadays. But from the moment that Mother says 30 minutes, from that point, it literally hits the ring around the planet at 30
Yeah.
minutes. It was literally
Dude.
done precisely so that it's literally accurate to the movie's chronology with the viewing experience chronology.
I love
It's
that.
perfect. I love that because
I love
when
that.
when the impact happened, I'm like, oh crap, it just happened, and it wasn't
Hmm.
like, oh, it's been way past
Mm,
30 minutes. It didn't feel like that way at all.
yeah.
Because it was literally executed
On the dot.
in post for it to be on the dot 30 minutes.
Dude, I
They
love
put
movies that do that.
they put so much craftsmanship into this movie, and that's why I appreciate it so much because the attention to detail is ridiculous. It's
Hmm.
ridiculous. It's so well done. They do so many callbacks through the production that I can't. It will take. This would be a two to. This would be like a 2.5 to 3 hour long video if we went into every single little thing, in which they literally pull from lore, from the older movies, from the original creators. Go ahead.
If you guys want to see the 2 to 3 hour video, join our membership, join our Patreon. We'll be posting it there. Join our OnlyFans. That's where we'll post that as well.
It's some other exclusive
Raw,
content.
uncensored, uncut,
Right.
straight 2 to 3 hour long edit version of this is gonna be on our OnlyFans. You go check it out. We'll see you there.
Um. Yeah. So they take a lot from, and I guess I have a bunch of fun facts, and I'm gonna go down them, and it's a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're really good. But the scene when they're in the street in the beginning of the film, I thoroughly felt what they were feeling. You had the bird
Hmm.
in the cage the man's carrying, and obviously that's symbolizing her feeling of her just being kept in this cage and she can't go
Crap.
out and fly, and she just wants to get out of that planet. She wants to go
Hmm.
see the sun for the first time. I think that was we'll get into it, but usually we do at the end of the videos we kind of do like best shot, best moment. That was my favorite shot. The shot when they finally get through the atmosphere and you can see
Dude.
the sun and then the ring. It looked beautiful. It looked really
That's literally
beautiful.
what I was thinking when you were saying that. I thought you were gonna see the bird. I was
No.
like, dude, this shot where the sun comes through and you see her just go like
Yes.
that, like she's like taking it in. That was my favorite shot.
Yeah. The shot when you see the ship above the above the planet, and when you can see the ring, you see the
Ooh,
sun, the planet. That was my favorite shot.
gotcha.
The cinematography was amazing. It wasn't her looking at the sun.
Mine,
It was the shot where like when the ship finally gets above the atmosphere and
yeah.
you see the sun, you see the ring, you see the planet below. That shot for me was beautiful and was so satisfying in my mind.
I think mine would still have to be like the shot of it coming through the window, and you see like
Right.
her looking at the sun, and you see like it like kind of hitting her face from like I
Mm-hmm.
think the side. If not, like I don't want to say it was the one of her just like taking it in, because that's just kind of like standard, like
So yeah,
not
yeah,
a simple shot, not a simple shot because it probably took time to set it up and everything, but
yeah.
like the one of it coming in is probably for me. That's probably for me.
I totally understand that. But the one scene that I loved, low key, was when they were. It was cool because you never really see a ship put its thrusters down and then push up all the
Yeah,
way. Usually you see it go
yeah.
up and then it pivots, then flies up. But this literally just went in the same position, in the down position, and
Straight
just
up.
went up. That was cool. But the cool scene with the cousin is when he lit his cigarette and then the flame was huge, and then the
Dude,
cigarette went straight up and like it burned so
dude,
fast. That was awesome. That was really,
that was
really,
badass.
really dope attention to detail. Uh, the only problem that I have with that part is when he exhales and there's not a lot of smoke.
It's like little nothing. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I'm like where'd all the smoke go?
Yeah. So like, unless it was absorbed into his system right away, but Man, the head high that you must get from that is insane.
He would have not been able to walk
I
after
don't think
that.
so, personally. Yeah, he just absorbed an entire cigarette in one draw, thanks to the pull of the ship, and the not a lot of smoke. I mean, maybe there's some science behind it. I don't know. Like again,
So
the
because of
attention to
that, we're
detail.
deducting 3 stars.
3 stars. Movie sucks. That's it for us
Deducting
today,
3.
guys. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
No.
It's gonna be a 1.5 for me. It's gonna
1.5.
be a salt and burn.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, is there any other scenes that if I remember, I'll throw it out there. But is there anything else that you
I think
about the
my favorite
film?
scene is probably that hero shot that we mentioned earlier,
Right.
because it's not even just her coming down and like lifting the thing up, and you see all the blue smoke light kind of thing going on.
Right.
It's more, it's like it's that combined with the scene when Andy first realizes how much danger they're in, when he like puts his hand in the blue smoke that looks
Yes.
like all
Fog.
cool, and
Yeah.
he goes, just perfectly levels his hand along the line of the smoke. And then he's like, "Oh, we're like," he like looks around like, "Oh, we're fucked."
Yeah.
Like that for me, I was like, "Dude, that's so sick."
So we can get more into the specifics, and if you have anything that you identify that you want to talk about, just blurt it out. I'm gonna go through the fun facts, but if there's anything
Yep.
that you remember you want to talk about, and like anything that really sticks out, let me know, and I'll do the same thing. I'll do the exact same thing. So
Okay.
listen, there's a lot of trivia / fun facts for this movie, and I'm just gonna do my best to read through them all. I'm gonna be really parched by the end of this, but all the fun facts that I took from IMDb are really, in my opinion, really fun to think about, and they're cool in my opinion. So the director, Fede Alvarez, sought out the special effects crew from Aliens to work on the creatures. Physical sets, practical creatures, and miniatures were used whenever possible to help ground later VFX work. So he literally pulled crew from Aliens from 1986 to work on the creatures.
That's insane, dude.
You could tell that this director likes Alien, loves it, and it really has attention to detail to the point where you're going to take literal crew members from Aliens from 1986 to work on all the animatronics and miniatures.
This is the type of director you want on a film that's on a franchise that's being brought back, or like it's just essentially brought back.
Built
You
upon
want
even.
this kind of or build upon, yeah. Like this is the kind of guy you want because, as Jacob said, he cares about the source material. He cares about the legacy. He cares about everything involved with those films that came before the one that he's making. Imagine if we had had a director like that for Halloween,
Or The
you know,
Exorcist.
or The Exorcist. Would have been nice.
Would
Would
have
have
been
been
great.
nice.
Would have been great.
Would have been great.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
So the movie takes place in the year 2142, exactly 20 years after Alien, situated in 2122, and 37 years before Aliens. So it's literally
Holy
smack dab in the
shit.
middle of the two films. If you didn't know that already, now you know. But this is when it is based. It's between 1 and 2.
They're gonna kidnap Sigourney Weaver and make her do it for 90 years
Again.
until she's 90.
Well, in the Deadpool was it until you're 80? Was that it? Like
No, it was literally till he's 90.
until you're 90? They're like, yeah.
He's gonna make you do this till he's
Till
90.
you're 90. I mean, they repeated that later in the movie. He's like, he looked at Hugh. He's like, till you're 90. He's like repeated it.
Wolverine just like,
Yeah. The film's production design draws not only from the previous films, but also Alien Isolation, which is the video game from 2014. It includes the emergency communication stations, which served as save points in the game. And Alvarez, director, played the game around the time when he came out with Don't Breathe, and later said, "I was playing and realized how terrifying Alien could be if you take it back to that tone."
and he did. He literally did. One of the first scenes that really reminded me of the game was when you have Andy telling that after they had matched the room's temperature with their body temperature, because the aliens can sense you through body temperature. After they had matched everything, synced everything up, it's literally the back of um Kaylee Spaney's head, and you just hear Andy going, "Just be calm, don't make any noise, and like do all this stuff,
Yep.
and you'll be fine.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're walking into a room filled with face huggers.
Did you play the game?
And I played it once, but I didn't play it enough to be like, this is the shit. I
I
was more
got you.
like, how do you do this?
Because it was also like
How do you
VR,
move?
wasn't it? Wasn't it a VR game?
I don't know if it was VR, but I know it's a PC game. That's the sort of like, I don't know if it's VR though. I know one of my favorite YouTubers just recently replayed it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Fooster. And dude, it is, if like the way it was shot, that scene specifically felt like it was ripped out of the video game.
If anybody does not know, the character in Isolation is the daughter of Ripley. Just to let you guys know, because it's a very interesting take. Because that's not, it's technically canon, but you don't hear about it. And it's in a deleted scene in, I think it's Alien 3, when she finds out that her daughter's dead. Yeah, definitely Alien 3, because she goes into cryo sleep. And I think she finds out her daughter's dead. So her daughter is in isolation, and that's when. And then there's a deleted scene, which I'm assuming is why they put her daughter in isolation, and they find out her daughter's dead. I don't know how Isolation ends, but that could be an explanation.
I gotta rewatch how it ends.
Right. Okay, so the idea of an alien film centering on younger characters was inspired by a deleted scene from Aliens that was later restored in the special edition. I have yet to watch the special edition, but apparently it's better than the original. So Aliens...
We have to watch the special edition.
Yeah, I know. I have to watch it because I heard things where it's like literally better than the original. It's kind of like the Richard Donner cut for Superman 2. It's kind of like how people feel about that, where it's like there was more elements to the Richard Donner cut that was not included into the actual theatrical cut. So
yeah,
for anybody who doesn't really know the Superman deep cuts, essentially Richard Donner, who did the first movie, there were some directorial issues, and a new director came on the set and finished it because 1 and 2 of Superman 1 and 2 were created at the same time, and there was going into the second movie there were some creative disputes, and Richard Donner later came out with his own version of it, and so this is apparently the special edition is better. So Alvarez explained that, quote, "There's a moment where you see a bunch of kids running around the corridors of this colony, and I thought, wow. What would it be like for these kids to grow up in a colony that still needs another 50 years to terraform? So I remember thinking, if I ever tell a story in that world, I would definitely be interested in those kids when they reach their early 20s. And that's pretty much what this film was.
Yeah.
So
that's brilliant.
So essentially, he carried this kind of essence from the Aliens special edition. That was the deleted scene. And you see a bunch of kids running around the corridors of this colony, and he was like, "Wow, what if I took these kids when they're in their 20s, and then made a film out of it?" So it's kind of like where it was born in a sense, not necessarily, but in a sense, it's one place in which it was created.
Blossomed from there.
Yeah, one of the many places I'm sure that he, wanted to take this. Alvarez used a remote control soundboard connected to the loudspeakers around the set to spook the cast during shooting. It contained various sounds of xenomorphs and alarms.
Dude, that's dope.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's not as iconic as the director Friedkin as shooting a shotgun on set of The Exorcist when there's a scene in The Exorcist. If you guys have ever seen The Exorcist, where Damien, he's like listening to the tape that he recorded of Reagan talking in multiple languages, and during when he's listening to that tape, the phone rings and he goes and he freaks out. When he freaks out, that shot of him and his face freaking out is because the director of The Exorcist fired a shotgun on set and scared him so bad that he that reaction that you see when the phone goes off in the movie. That's his reaction to the shotgun going off.
Dude, that's thick.
The cinema used to be different back then. You could do a lot of different things.
A lot of shit.
A lot of stuff, man. You can't do that stuff anymore. Ridley Scott fires a shotgun on the set. So Alvarez.
Betty Alvarez.
Yeah.
That's off TNT.
Alvarez says that this film does not upset the canon of the larger Alien universe, and that James Cameron actually helped on the script level with the new story. So
Oh,
just
shit.
for anybody who's questioning the canonical element of this movie, you heard
Give
it
me
here.
Give me one. Take notes. Take notes, Lucasfilm. Take notes. This is how you do it. Not that acolyte shit. Okay? We don't do that here.
Got
We don't do
canceled
that.
after one season.
Don't disturb the canon. This is what happens. See?
Yep.
Bring Fetty on. Filoni? I'm disappointed.
And
Let's go.
what's his name? What's no, Filoni, you're right. Yep, you're good.
Filoni.
Yep.
We call him Star Wars Jesus, but he failed us.
Yes, he did.
Oh, they took all the merch off the website, by the way.
I know.
Acolyte. Removed everything.
The film was originally supposed to be scheduled to release on Hulu, but it switched to theatrical release in June 2023.
As it should have.
Yeah, this deserves to
Glad
be
it
in
did.
theaters. I saw it in XD at Cinemark. It was phenomenal.
Dude.
Like I said, the
insane.
film was shot chronologically. After months of speculation about the meaning of the subtitle Romulus, director Alvarez explained that it refers to the Romulus space station where part of the action in the film takes place. He also explained that there is a sister station called Remus, and you see that in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's named after the twins Romulus and Remus, the mythological founders of the cities of Rome and the Roman kingdom, who were raised and nursed by a wolf as children. So Romulus and Remus were both children and raised by a wolf. And there's a shot in the movie that we'll go into, but
I saw that.
yeah. So in the final film, Romulus and Remus are revealed to be the two halves of the Renaissance space station, with most of the action taking place on the Romulus side. This explains the ship's logo of a wolf standing over two small children, and this continues the tradition of naming entities after characters or places from classic mythology, such as Prometheus, named after the Greek Titan, and the ship Anistora, and the Apollo computer from Alien Isolation, named after the Roman goddess and god respectively.
I thought they named the computer after Apollo Creed.
You're on to something.
No, onto something there.
The planetoid Acheron from Aliens, named after the river in the Greek underworld, and the USS Eureka from Alien Resurrection, named after a Greek hero. So obviously, this movie kind of continues the theme in pulling from mythology into the names of the ships. Navarro's player in the unsubtitled Mandarin Chinese prior to liftoff. So she says this prayer before they go into space. The bald woman who had the face hugger.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, yeah. So the fact that they had the space hugger and you could see its appendage, I guess you could call, like trying to go into the mouth, like that was pretty gross.
That freaked me out, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that shit's fucking long.
Yeah. So in Alien, you commonly see a lot of sexual innuendos used for good reason, and this movie did a similar thing. And in this movie, you have the xenomorph is then kind of hibernating in this cocoon, in this isolated part of the ship, and that's actually different from what you see in the aliens' growth in previous movies. So in this movie, it kind of goes into this it goes into a cocoon, and it grows in there, and it obviously resembles a vagina, and the cousin sticks a electronic rod in there to basically abort it.
Yep.
And obviously it wasn't too happy about that, and then the acid kills him. But if you don't know Alien has a lot of sexual innuendos with female and male appendages, and this film continues with that a lot.
Tastefully.
A lot.
Tastefully.
Yeah. So
Very well.
so the bald girl, I forgot her name, but she said a Mandarin Chinese prayer prior to liftoff, and that was for her family's ancestors, saying, "Please protect the 5 of us." And when counting Andy, the crew numbered 6. So this shows that while not openly it shows that while not an openly bigoted character, like the cousin, she doesn't consider Andy to be real and without a soul. So even though she's not like bigoted towards them or like biased towards synthetics, because
Hmm.
Bjorn's character, the cousin, his mother died in the the mines. This will
I think they're called synthoids.
synthoids. I think synthetics
Yeah,
is definitely another word for it, but I could use synthoids. It's not a problem. But
because like you were saying.
what?
Oh, I thought you were gonna finish.
No,
My bad.
yeah. So essentially, it just shows that she's not like a bigoted against synthoids. Like it just shows that like even though she's not a bigot towards them, she still identifies him as not being a person.
Yeah, and there's a little another thing for that when she's talking to Rain about that, and she's like, "You don't have to feel bad. It's not like he's a real person. It's like you all this stuff. Like when she's like, oh, you didn't tell him because apparently him being going to that planet they want to go, she can go to prison for that. He's not allowed to be there. No synthesoids are supposed to be there, or synthetics are supposed to be
Yeah,
on that planet. If you bring them, you go to jail. And during that scene where that whole thing is revealed, Andy doesn't care because he's like, whatever's best for her, that's what matters. That's my programming. That's my directive. But Kaylee Spinney's character, Rain, is like going through it. She's like, I didn't tell him because I didn't have the heart. And the bald-headed character straight up goes, like I said, you don't have to feel bad about it. He's not a real. It's not like he's a real person, you know. It's not like and all that stuff. Which, when we get down later down the line to the scene where she's doing the prayer and stuff and says, "Projective 5 was," you see that a little bit more is showing a little bit more of that bigotry is
right.
showing.
Yeah. And
Just subtly in
obviously,
there.
yeah, obviously, Bjorn has good reason because synthetic left its mom to die. But
Hmm.
obviously, the whole point was to save 12 others. I think it was. I think that was the number for it.
Yeah, it's like save one or save a dozen or two. Save like two or three or save a dozen.
It allowed like 3 to die to save a dozen. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spaney acknowledged the legacy of the original series star Sigourney Weaver, saying, watching Sigourney play that role, she's part of the changing of the game that those films did. I could never
Mm.
be her. I injected whatever I have in me into that character and try to make it three dimensional as possible. So she wasn't trying to have an agenda herself. She's just like, I'm never gonna be Weaver. I'm never gonna be her. I'm gonna try my best to be the best in this character and to play her the best. And what more could you want from an actress?
She's like Rain is not Ripley, but they are in the same league of their
Right,
own,
right,
their own individual leagues.
right.
That.
When Tyler, Bjorn, and Andy toured the reactivated Renaissance station, Wagner's, quote, "The entry of the gods into Valhalla," has heard over the audio explaining the station being named Romulus and Remus. And this ties back to Covenant when Peter Wayland first activates David, and it's kind of like a prequel shot, and asks him to play Wagner, and he basically played the same song. I think it was the opening shot of Covenant, and they play the same song as they do once they get back into the station, the ship.
Gotcha.
Just a little. I think it was probably an Easter egg, but Wayland is obviously the antagonist in Prometheus in a sense where he funded this all. He has the company, and throughout all the Alien movies, like the whole point is to do what's best for the company, and that's Waymer's company.
Mhm.
And it's a very common theme in all of these things. It's like because the company has a deeper meaning and a deeper
Yeah.
a deeper agenda. You know.
Yeah.
Fun fact there. The cassette futurism of the film, despite being a deliberate throwback to the original series of the film, is not a retcon of the sleeker futuristic designs shown in Prometheus and Covenant. Alvarez stated that classism is at play, with the richer, more well-off people in the universe able to benefit from a more Apple-esque future, while the poorer outliers have to make do with Zerust. So you even see that in Alien. Their technology is more older looking,
Mhm.
and that's also because it's a mining ship that's taking ore from, which could be the same planet that they're from in this movie, because it's a mining planet. But they're taking ore with their ship, and the ship just happens to be not a very important ship, so they have older technology. So he's kind of addressing the fact that, this movie and these ships have the older technology that you see in Alien, but not the newer technology that you see from Prometheus, and that's primarily just because of who has produced the ship, what the ship's used for, and if it's necessary to have better technology or not.
Capitalism.
Right. So it's like if people have a question with it, where it's like, why don't they have the newer technology from Prometheus? And it's essentially like a class thing, and essentially what technology they're going to be put into what ships and for what reason. So it kind of gives people a little bit like an added explanation.
Yeah.
At the premiere in Los Angeles, Ridley Scott told the Hollywood Reporter that when director Alvarez showed him the movie for the first time, quote, "I was hugely relieved that it was potentially a huge film. And I just said, you don't have to take a note, but I'll tell you what I think." The filmmaker Ridley explained that he wrote down notes instead of saying them aloud to Alvarez. And then Alvarez goes to read the notes privately, kicks the wall, punches the door, and then comes back out and said, "They were good notes." And Scott also made a suggestion to cut down the film, noting, "Directors tend to make it too long. It was long, so you don't want to lose your dynamic. The dynamics in this kind of movie are everything, and he had so much going on, he didn't need so much." So essentially, Ridley Scott was like, the movie doesn't have to be this long. Don't lose the essence of the film. And he basically wrote down notes for Alvarez, and Alvarez went off to the side and read the notes, and he kind of just raged out for a second and kicked the door and like punched the wall.
Crashed out.
And he's like, "These are good notes." Just kind of like he's like punching himself because he's like, "Dang it." And he's like, "No, these are good notes. These are critically like, well, this makes sense." But like obviously beat himself up because of it. But Ridley,
it's crazy. Sorry, it's crazy that we said earlier how Ridley was one of the people who said, "Don't tell me to cut down my films," and now he's the one telling Ridley, Fetty, "Hey,
right.
you cut down your film."
I think it's because like he made them universe in a sense. He's like, "Listen, your film has a lot of potential, but you don't need it to be this long."
Too juicy.
And I agree because like the duration I thought was perfect.
Yeah, no, it was great.
I don't think it needed to be shorter
length.
or longer.
It felt just right.
I agree. Alvarez made sure to use as many practical effects as possible when making the film, including building aliens that could be operated by puppeteers. So going back to what just went back to using
the robot.
Yeah, just going back to using puppets.
Dude, I saw this one snippet. They made like a giant robotic metal alien with like the puppetry in the face and like a little bit on the hands, and then they wrapped it in the skin of the xenomorph. And that thing looked insane.
That's cool.
Terrifying.
The Offspring is the chronologically first but second appearing of a xenomorph human hybrid in the series, with the first being the newborn, which you see in Resurrection. However, the two clearly contrast one another by the fact that the Offspring is much more human-looking compared to the newborn, presumably because the Offspring was already in development as a human fetus, while the xenomorph genes being added later in its development when its genetic makeup was already set. The Offspring appears to be the first creature born from the black goo with genitals as well. And if you look at the Offspring, it kind of has like a slit in the nether regions.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. The newborn appeared to have a true instinctual connection to Ripley, like I was saying before, seeing her as its mother, and the Offspring was more hostile toward its mother, only being concerned with absorbing the black goo from her and her essence. The newborn showed fear and sorrow upon facing its death, whereas the Offspring showed blind fury. So this is kind of like what I was saying. The Offspring looks more human, but the newborn is actually more human and showed fear and sorrow and going to die. And even Ripley, her character, was sad to see her child going to die, even though she knew it needed to be done.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of respected the Resurrection a little bit, because I did have that interesting element to it, the motherly and child aspect of it, even though it wasn't like a great movie, even though the newborn looked kind of weird. it still kind of contained an element that was understandable.
In the words of Gen Z, it ate.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
When Mother
Welcome.
states that they, I already said this one. In one of his last transmissions, the android Rook tells Rain and Andy, quote, "I can't lie about your chances, but you have my sympathies." This was the final line of Ash in Alien from 1979, who is of the same appearance and model as Rook. So he just basically says the same line
Shit.
as he said before they both kind of perished.
Shit.
Mm-hmm. Early fan speculation based on footage from the trailers proposed that the original creature from Alien, which was named as the Big Chap by fans, would be found, which it was, and could be the primary antagonist of this movie. Although the Big Chap is indeed retrieved close to the wreckage of the Nostromo in the opening scene, it is later revealed that his revived body was used for experiments aboard the Romulus. It later escaped and caused a rampage before it was definitively killed. And during the main portion of the movie, it is long dead, with the creature's corpse shown hanging on the ceiling with Ripley's harpoon still sticking out the back. The creatures that serve as the antagonists in the film are said to be genetically altered clones created from the Big Chap's DNA. So it's just literal clones from the original.
Little chaps.
Little chaps. Yeah. When Andy, Tyler, and Bjorn walk through Renaissance Space Station, they see all kind of creepy paintings, with one where the camera specifically focuses in on a child drinking milk from his dead mother. This macabre scene foreshadows Kay meeting her demise at the hands of her genetically engineered offspring, who similarly feeds on her body before killing her.
Dude.
Yeah. And that painting is intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like, I
sad.
don't mean to say like she's stupid as like horrible character, but like in just like your friend who you trust literally stopped that from being injected into you, and then the next thing you do after you get saved is let me inject this black shit into
Because
me.
she wanted to save her dog. She wanted to save her kids, so you could see like she goes down her stomach and she rubs her stomach, and then she looks at the vials and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna bleed out. I should probably take this to save my child at least." And I think that's kind of what she
That's
was
the
going
thing,
for.
like
Yeah,
with all the time that she spent just like chilling, doing that stuff.
yeah,
Rain literally said, "Take this, go there straight that way, cryo sleep, you're safe."
right.
But she's like, "No, I don't have time to do all that. I'm just gonna inject myself with some black goo." And then she turned into Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman when he injected himself with that shit.
Yeah, so like that could be one element of the film where it's like, like that kind of goes against exactly what
Yeah,
what should logically be done, but it still kind of worked for me. It wasn't
it
that
worked.
bad.
It wasn't too forced. It wasn't too
Yeah,
forced.
yeah.
It felt like a natural reaction to someone in that kind of a situation.
Right. After Rain provided Andy with his new instruction and directive, the quote saving sound from the game Alien Isolation could be heard. So once he's like,
No
you
cap.
have so once he's like, you have a new objective, and he's like processing, it's the same sound as the saved sound in the
Dude,
game.
I knew I recognized that noise. I was like, that sounds weird. That sounds
Yeah.
legit.
Fun fact there. The first
Betty.
titled Alien movie in the franchise does not feature the eggs that incubate the face huggers. So this is the first Alien movie that does not have the eggs that have the face huggers. Because obviously the station was experimenting on them, so it just had a bunch of them in its arsenal.
I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah,
I'm glad it didn't. It did
it's
that.
original.
It did its own thing and
Yep.
it succeeded.
I agree. The movie takes elements from every movie in the franchise, every single one. Both the Nostromo wreckage and the xenomorph are found. Rook is the same type and build as Ash. The pulse rifle battle in an alien hive with multiple xenomorph enemies, because she was like, using that gun to like mow down all the xenomorphs. And Ripley did the same thing. Ripley did the same thing in Aliens. Bishop. Andy, like Bishop, Andy prefers the term artificial person. They literally both say the same sentence. And he uses Ripley's famous quote saying, "Get away from her, you bitch." The alien gets within inches of Rain's face, just like the 20th century studio fanfare gets distorted in the same way. And Resurrection, there's a newborn alien-human hybrid. In the finale, that is even more hostile to its own mother. The black mutagen makes a return, and Rook's explanation about it clearly refers to Prometheus, where the engineers and Dr. Shaw, the mutagen has been extracted, purified, and experimented with, creating xenomorphs with a significantly shorter growth cycle and increased healing ability, quite similar to the protomorph, which I think that was from Covenant, where David he made his own xenomorph that you see. Very humanoid. He has a very flat face, not a lot of features. So they take a lot from everything, from every aspect of Alien they take from, which is cool.
Seasoning.
Alvarez told the Hollywood Reporter that Disney had creative differences, and I actually just told, this is what I said in the beginning. That supported what you were saying.
Sick.
So this one's a little interesting. I think the way that they say this fun fact is a little loose. I don't think it should be taken too literally. Yeah. So the necklace Kay wears is the miraculous medal, which is a Roman Catholic devotional medal, which has an image of the Blessed Virgin Mary. This may be a draw to the religious parallel between herself and Mary, as Kate states that she is pregnant from, quote, some asshole. So so the baby's father is unclear in this sense, and she later uses a vaccine to heal herself, made from the black mutagen introduced in Prometheus, which came from the engineers who had once created mankind. Yeah. So the biblical Mary birthed the Son of God. The vaccine transformed Kay's baby into the progeny of humanity's creator, with the fully grown newborn hybrid displaying more than a passing resemblance to the engineers. So there's a little bit of a play on the religious aspect, and and Ripley has done this throughout the Alien movies. You see this a lot. And a fun fact that people may or may not know about, in Prometheus, there was a deleted scene, and there are scripts that are available to read. And essentially, there's a scene in the deleted scene and in the scripts where the engineer has an actual full conversation with David and the guy who's old. They put himself to cryo-sleep. They thought he was dead. I forgot his name already. It's in my notes, but essentially they had a full-on discussion. In Prometheus, the old guy tells David to translate to him that he wants to have immortality. And then after that, like, the engineer just kills both of them. Doesn't even say a word. But in a deleted scene in the script, they actually have a full-blown conversation that lasts like 5 minutes. Within that conversation, the engineers essentially, they say, we took somebody, brought them to our planet, to paradise, taught that person the way and the way of living and the purpose of living, put him back on Earth, and they killed him. Who does that sound like? Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Right. So Ripley, being a believer, has this element where he takes, and I'm not totally unsure because I've heard different things from different people. It could have either been an engineer creation put on Earth to give the people the new way of living, the true way of living, and they crucified him, or they took a human from Earth, brought him to paradise, which is their planet, taught them the proper way of living, brought him back to Earth, they crucified him, and that was when in Prometheus, when the engineer was in his cryo chamber and all the other engineers died, and that's when they found them. Yeah. Once the engineer came back, they took him out of cryo sleep, and he killed David and the old guy. When he went up to his ship to go to Earth to kill humankind, that was because they lost faith in humanity. Because they created humanity, they saw the value of humanity, and they were obviously full of sin, and they were living totally opposite of what they were supposed to. Sent somebody to go redeem them. They killed them. It's like, okay, you know what? Humankind is doomed. We're just going to kill our creation because they're not what we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So essentially, the death of Christ aligns with Prometheus, in which the engineers, after the death of Christ, were going to go to Earth and kill humanity.
The flood.
Well, this was after the flood. The flood was Old Testament. But Christ dying and then rising again, that's in its own time. Yeah. But essentially, it's loosely based off the Bible, but once Christ died, you're like, okay, we're getting rid of humanity. We tried our best.
Yeah.
And that was when they revived him, got him out of the cryo sleep, he was going to go to Earth and kill everybody. That was their goal that whole time, to take that goo. It was a weapon that they were going to use to wipe out species and civilizations. They were going to do that with Earth. That's why throughout all the Alien movies, you have Ripley's character saying like, "Oh, we can't let this get back to the company because they're going to use it for their own weaponry, and they're going to use it as a weapon for themselves." Because it was always supposed to be a weapon, the goo, to be used as a weapon to destroy species and civilizations.
Yeah.
Fun fact for anybody who doesn't know that, but that's a huge element of Alien and Prometheus that nobody really knows about. That's huge with Ripley, because of Ridley, because I think he's a believer, but there's Christian elements throughout the movies, and this just adds to that deeply. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Alvarez talked about the chest burster scene, revealing why he decided to change things from the audiences we're used to seeing. So in the original movies, the chest burster pops out and then like scatters away, right? But in this one, it leaves those, essentially in the original movies, it darts off, leaving those who witness the birth in shock. In this film, the newborn chest burster sticks around to get to know its mother. It kind of like smells its scent, and its conscious change. It's a conscious change that the director says was done to add a sense of realism to the film. He explained, quote, "When babies are born, they're exhausted. So it would be the slow burn coming out of the body. I think it's more gruesome and perverse, but also doesn't betray reality. I approached it as if it were a true nature documentary. The direction I gave the puppeteers was stuff like, quote, the baby looks for the scent of the mother now." So he's like directing the puppeteers, saying the baby looks for the scent of the mother. And so it raises its head to do that. That just makes it more realistic, and we applied that principle to everything in the Alien world. Alvarez went one step further to make the birth scene even more practical. So instead of just shaking the camera to mimic the spacecraft like spiraling towards the station, the director says that the entire set was vibrating with all the actors on it. So instead of like having the camera move, the whole set was moving. Yeah. He made the whole thing like a moving set, which is awesome.
That's sick.
So of course, to make sure everyone was safe, stunt doubles were used as a precaution. And the director revealed, quote, "We literally vibrated the set. The whole cockpit was built on a massive gimbal. So anytime there was a moment where the shuttle crashes against the station, the whole gimbal would shake. And when the character falls, it's super violent. And we had to work with stunt doubles, obviously, as a safety precaution. And during the whole birth and everything, all shaking is real. It's all real." Alvarez wasn't going to miss out on the opportunity to experience what everybody else was. However, led by example by being right there in the thick of things with his young cast and crew. He called the moment awesome, adding, "It was the best theme park ride. We were all in it with them, and I was with my monitor trying to stay in place while people were shaking the hell out of that thing." And it was awesome. So
So sick.
it just gives an element of appreciation to his to him creating this movie.
He's willing to get down and dirty. He's like the Michael Bay of horror.
Right.
Except not CGI. Well, he gets down and dirty.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. And I just realized that Zack Snyder's the Richard Donner of our time.
Big claim. I'll think about that. But it shows that like this director is taking elements from old movies into building sets that actually move and vibrate, and he's just bringing back classical, techniques that work and have always worked.
Deemed too expensive for studios nowadays. Yeah. It's deemed too expensive.
I think it's BS.
Here we are paying Robert Downey Jr. $96 million to reprise a role. Not reprise a role, but take on a role in the same universe. Right. And then people are like, how are you going to pay the VFX people? How are you going to... Like, most of the budget is on him.
Right.
$96 million.
Yep. That's insane. For the production of this film, Rook was designed as an animatronic in the image of Ian Holm, with facial movements that were the work of off-camera human maneuvering. Quote,
Oh,
It
sick.
was 80 to 90% done with the puppeteers depending on the shot, said Alvarez, describing the subsequent CGI enhancements in post-production as eye work, so that the animatronic had a bit more life. Excuse me. And in the mouth to meet the lip sync better. The director also said that British actor Daniel Bett was on set in Budapest to record the facial capture with the cast. During filming, the lines were read in real time using the animatronic, so Bett's voice was then transformed to sound more like Holmes's using generative AI and computer modeling.
Shit.
Quote, we're not bringing someone back to life and saying, oh, Ian would have done it that way. He would have obviously done it differently, but we had an actor who was on the set, who worked on the dialogue, who worked with the actors. It's not like we skipped hiring an actor. Alvarez doesn't think that it's feasible for AI to replace actors in the near future. His choice to use those tools to create Rook, he says, was solely specific to this film and this franchise. He added, quote, it's so much more expensive to do it it's so much more expensive to do it the way that we did. It's much cheaper to just hire an actor. Doing it this way requires a team of so many people in so many ways, parts to get it done, and it's never going to be really convenient. Alvarez maintains that Rook is a character that is a distinct personality from Ash, and that his motivation for using Holmes' likeness and voice was a genuine desire to honor his place in the franchise's history, explaining, quote, we did it all with a lot of respect and always with the authorization of his family, his children, and his widow, who said, quote, we would love to see his likeness again. And I think that gives a good little addition to the conversation we were having earlier with, bringing somebody back to quote unquote to life. And he obviously is doing it from a place of respect and not from, money. Because,
It reaps dirty.
Right. So it's more the fact, oh, this was a model from this time period of a synthetic, and it makes sense to have this likeness and this imagery back in this film rather than just pulling from an old character from an old movie. It wasn't like a money grab or anything like that. It was purely respectful, and I honestly kind of agree with him. And obviously, I'm not the actor who passed, I'm not his family, but I think it's an honor to kind of be brought back like that, to be honest. A couple more here. Director Alvarez confirmed on the Alien subreddit that Bjorn is the father of Kay's baby. Meaning he's the cousin.
Cousin?
Yeah.
The cousin
This is
and the
from
sister.
IMDb.
Incest?
Bjorn, yeah.
Holy shit.
Apparently,
That makes sense. Some asshole.
right.
Dude.
So Bjorn being the father to her baby.
Dude.
Listen,
I could have lived without that.
me too.
I could have lived without that.
But it
Why'd
adds
you have
an
to put
element
that
to it where it's like they're in this rogue-esque environment, and all they really got is each other all the time, and there's not too many
I could have
options.
lived without that though.
I know.
There's people.
Yeah.
There's people. There wasn't no options. This wasn't the fucking Midwest.
Listen, this is IMDb
offense to the
trivia, and
Midwest.
I'll have to look at that
We're
subreddit.
double back to that one.
Yeah,
We're double back to that
double
one.
back to it. First red
I want to hear
flag that
Betty
we
say
found.
that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first red flag.
Yeah.
I'm starting to sense an agenda.
Yeah.
Seeing patterns.
Last trivia that should be mentioned is the human xenomorph offspring's face, like we were talking about, was designed to bear a resemblance to the engineers from Prometheus and Covenant in order to help bridge the gap between the main series and the prequels.
Yeah, that's sick.
Which is good.
That's good.
So,
Connect.
this has been a long review thus far. Favorite actor? Do you have a favorite actor?
Kaylee Spain.
I agree. Favorite
Or
shot?
Andy.
Or Andy. He was very good.
Favorite shot? The one where the sunlight, for the first time she sees it, is
Yep.
coming through the ship,
Right.
and she's seeing that. That's for me.
Mine's the same scene, but my shot is when they get above the planet. You could see the ring and the sun and the planet. Thought that was beautiful. There's also the shot of when Andy, she puts in that the thing in his neck, and then he gets
When
into
he freezes?
yeah, that was
Dude,
freaky.
that shot was
Yeah,
thick,
that was
dude.
good.
Cool.
Yeah,
I
That,
think they used the push pull for that. That was dope.
that was really good. That was a really good shot as well. It was pretty freaky by itself, to be honest.
I like that one.
Um, there's a couple things that really like I wouldn't say like, oh, which actor could have played this actor. I think everything was fine. And
Yeah, everybody was the role they deserved to be in.
so Letterboxd rating, Nick. I haven't asked you this yet, but what did you give it?
I'll give it a 4.
I gave it a 4 as well.
Give it a 4.
4 out of 5.
4 to 5.
Yep. And so like we were talking about on the podcast before, we have a tier list that we have, and
Get mine out.
we have for horror movies we have Salt and Burn It, which is the lowest. Straight to the Grave, So Bad It's Good, Put It on a Shirt, Scarred for Life, and Therapy Required. For me, it's an easy Scarred for Life. I don't think it's at the level of Therapy Required, but I think it's an easy Scarred for Life because the human xenomorph image, the offspring could easily be. I already read some reviews. Like people really got like antsy from that.
That shit fucked me up.
Yeah, it's easily put on a shirt easily, but
I'm saying Scarred for Life.
I think Scarred for Life is an easy addition to the tier list in my personal opinion.
Scarred for Life, because of the birth of it, and then the whole third act.
Right.
And even just like the chest burst scene, like we've seen it 1,000 times before, but this is done differently.
Yes.
And that alone, that in itself, it's a lot of the imagery in this film really gets you.
I agree.
And just it's not even just like imagery like how like you have fucking Hereditary or other stuff like that, or where they flash shit at you.
Right.
Long legs, for instance. This movie shows you like duration. It's longer. It's scenes, not just images in itself.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna give it a Scarred for Life for that.
I agree. A solid 4 out of 5. Easy 4 out of 5. Deserves a 4 out of 5. And
100%.
I'm pretty strict with my ratings. I barely give movies 5 stars. I rarely give it 4.5, but 4 is definitely applicable to this movie. And I think as a final thought for me, we have to produce, if we're going to produce films and come up with films that are in the same anthology or franchise as one that is as popular as Alien, this is the way to do it. This is it. This is the way to do it.
Yes.
This is how you
That's
carry
the way to do it.
This is how you carry the essence of a whole entire franchise that's lasted for almost 40 years. Well, yeah.
Maintain its legacy.
Maintain its legacy. It builds on it, not destroys it. And like
Star Wars Halloween.
Yeah, I would talk to Nick about it. Like, listen, like
What's
the previous movies are still there. Those aren't destroyed because what's been produced after that is just added on, and we could easily forget those. What's in the past still exists. And we don't have to let the future additions ruin it. But this movie does the exact opposite. It only adds to it, in my personal opinion. It only gives it more relevancy. It only gives it more possibilities for the future. It keeps the damn franchise alive and breathing constantly. This is only going to... Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. But what's great about that is that like all these films, like up until I think... Was it the fourth one?
Yeah, probably the fourth one.
The fourth one. Like those are all chronological, and then from that point forward, right? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's all like one after the other.
Yes.
In a sense. And then after that, we're getting like prequel stuff.
Yes.
And a little bit of like in between stuff, and this one takes in between, like Jacob said, in between 1 and 2, and the beauty of that is they're able to do that, have the freedom to do that because there's so much that we haven't uncovered yet, or haven't like dove into.
Yep.
We have a lot of room to go around to spice things up and build it up, as opposed to like having like this has gone on since the 80s.
80s. I believe so. I'll double check while you talk.
As opposed to like Star Wars, which is the 70s, and just like had fucking generations of like lore.
Yeah.
And then you just have people coming
TV
in.
shows, comic books, which Alien has had. Alien has had books and comics.
Yeah, but like in film canon, like they're very smart with what they pick and choose and where they decide to place things, as
Right.
opposed to like people up in Disney or in Star Wars who are just like, oh, let's take some cool stuff from this, put it into this. This character doesn't act like that, but let's make them act like that because it's different. It's quirky. Um, let's put these characters in this storyline when they weren't even born, or they shouldn't know about this kind of thing because it disrupts the canon of already established films that are technically later on in this timeline, but before this project came out.
Right.
And it's really frustrating. It's very disheartening. It's very soul shattering seeing that happen to franchises you love and hold close to you. So seeing people like Fetty and Ridley collaborating and fighting against the studio to keep and maintain the legacy of this franchise is beautiful because we've seen franchises go to shit. We've seen
Exorcist, Halloween, Star
Star
Wars,
Wars, Exorcist,
DC.
Halloween, yep, Star Wars, DC, just one after another. It's just Hard Knocks. But this is the one film in a long time that I could say like, I want more. I want it as many as you can give me. Just keep doing exactly what you're doing.
Exactly.
Take your
Exactly
time.
this.
Take your time.
Exactly
Take your
this.
time.
Yep.
And that's where I'll end my spiel for
Yeah.
everything.
I agree wholeheartedly with Nick. And this was a great experience, a great cinema experience. I was very excited for Nick to see it, and I'm glad he liked it as much as I did. And I was excited for this review. Great bounce back off of When Evil Lurks.
Yep. Like yeah.
And hey, if you want any more sci-fi reviews, let us know in the comments.
Dude, please.
Let us know in the comments of what you thought of where you would put it on our tier list, what you would rate it out of 5 stars. And I mean, listen, man, this was a good one, and I'm looking forward to more alien movies. I'm looking forward to more like good sci-fi movies that are mixed with horror. And we don't get a lot of those. I think Life was like one of the last ones really that were kind of is in this kind of theme. But
Yeah,
we need more sci-fi horror, man.
we do. We're not getting it. We're getting a lot of supernatural horror lately.
It's been
That's like the new thing.
been that way for a while, man.
Supernatural horror.
Oh yeah.
Even like some sci-fi thrillers were like
Mm-hmm.
like even like before 2010 they were mostly taking place like on Earth. Like something crashed, went on Earth.
Right.
Take us to space.
Yeah.
Uh, like even if you don't do it well, like Alien, just take us to space.
Mm-hmm.
Take us out. You know, take us somewhere else.
Yeah. Hey, maybe one day we'll see aliens come to Earth. The xenomorphs might come to Earth one day. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
We'll never know. We'll never know. It might be a full circle moment where the engineers created man on Earth, and then the aliens will come to Earth to do the job that the engineers always wanted to do in the first place. We'll see what happens. But that's it for me. That's it for. I mean, Nick, I think that's it for you.
That's it for me.
So this has been Based on Cinema. Please leave a like, subscribe if you really feel the need to. We would really appreciate it. We love movies. We hope you do too, and we love talking about movies. And this is what we're doing. And we're putting this into motion. And we've always said we want to talk about movies. We love talking about movies. We might as well do a video YouTube channel and a podcast. So we are going to plan on doing some actual audio podcasts specifically soon. I'm going to work on that. And we're just going to keep pumping out content. So if there's anything you guys want to see or anything you guys want to hear us talk about, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. Really appreciate it. And I'm Jacob.
I'm Nick.
This has been Based on Cinema.